So today is about the happiness equation. A lot of people have theories, what they think happiness is, and how to get happiness. And I just wanted y'all's opinions today. It's funny, they did a study on what people wanted in 5 years' time, right? What people wanted in 5 years' time. And 69% of all people that took this poll said success and riches. Top thing, majority, 69% success and riches is what they said they wanted. The next is being happy, 12%. And self improvement was 19%. Those are the top three things. But check out the numbers 69% is success and riches, almost 70%. And then self improvement, 20%, bro. That's the 20% I want to go after. But self improvement. And then 12% is happiness. Like, that's most important to them. Happy. So, what's his equation? Mo Gaudat says happiness is determined by the way you see the events in your life and your expectations of how life should be. Happiness is determined by the way you see the events in your life and your expectations of how life should be. So, in other words, bad things can happen to you in your life. You can still be happy. It's your perspective that makes you happy. It's not the event.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
if you have someone who has the expectation of a perfect life, it's going to be hard to be happy in that perfect scenario, right?
yeah.
It's kind of like we talked about the previous podcast where we're mentioning it's like you have to shift your perspective. Gratitude actually helps you learn to be happy because you now you're looking at it from an optimistic point of view versus maybe a negative point of view. So it's all about being able to control your perspective on life, even if it's a negative event. Maybe there's still something positive you can take away.
Yeah. And the thing about the mind is when you have gratitude and every day you're showing gratitude and practicing gratitude, you have to practice it, practice gratitude. The more the mind starts to see things and catch things to be grateful for.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a muscle. Some people are so miserable that the good things in their life, they let it slip away.
What's an example of that?
Do you know what the number one reason why people divorced?
Should I guess or tell you that I don't know?
So they did a psychology study. This is the story.
Okay.
They did a psychology study of what made all these people divorce. And so they interviewed all these people, I want to say like hundreds of thousands of people, and what they found a commonality was appreciation. The crazy thing is everybody thought it was because of money and finance, That's the reason why people divorce. Money and finance, or it was just appreciation, not appreciation enough.
Really? Wow.
So that's like a real life thing. It's a real life statistic. Being grateful, being appreciative of the people in front of you. That's power. Shoot, I appreciate you guys for real.
Likewise, brother.
Yeah,
I appreciate
So
this podcast.
bet. So happiness is determined by the way you see the events in your life and your expectations of how life should be. So here's the next thing. Happiness is not about what the world gives you. Happiness is about what you think about what the world gives you. So, what does that mean? There was this one kid, I believe Corey Ten Boom, story was she was trying to run away, and then as she was trying to run away, like acid got on her face. And instead of praying a prayer to God, her saying like, "Oh, why'd you do this? And I can't believe I already have it hard. Why am I having acid on my face?" This girl prayed the prayer of, "Thank you that it didn't blind me, the acid that hit my face. Thank you that the acid didn't scar me. Thank you for
Wow.
that." Perspective.
It's definitely deep because I think even that situation, there's like an 8 out of 10 chance that I probably would have been like, oh my gosh, like I probably wouldn't have taken it so positively. But now that actually influences my perspective, just to know that, hey, even if something happens, like, oh man, well, thank God, maybe even if an accident or something like that happens, thank God I'm in good health, right? It's just a car at the end of the day. It's not that serious. Still got your life.
I think a lot of happiness in that too. It really calls for self introspection, because I mean I think a lot of people who are very unhappy just don't do any type of reflection on what they have. Like my grandpa, probably the happiest, probably the most content guy I've ever met. And he had a really rough life growing up, but one thing that he knew is that at one point he ran away from home as a kid because his father, pretty much didn't want him around because his mother passed away, and he lived in a tree house, didn't really have much of a extended family, wasn't close to his brothers and sisters. He's kind of outcast in the family. But like by the time I met him in his 60s and 70s when I was born, like he was content. He was happy that he had a roof over his head. He was happy, or he was content with his life as a trash man in Orange County. He had a roof over his head. He had kids that were fed. He had a lot of things that made him happy. Like at that point, we didn't know what to get him for Christmas because he just didn't want anything. He was just a very happy and content guy. But a lot of that came from, like, the only heartache that he really had was some stuff that you really can't control. Your kids doing bad things, yada yada. But I think a lot of what his contentment, his happiness was later on in life is understanding what he didn't have. And I think when we get into the mode of being unhappy with life, I think right next to it, you can probably see that there is this almost blinders on. I want what I want. I need to get what I need to get. I need to get to where I need to get to. Nothing else matters. And we don't take into consideration how we got there and where we came from. I think a lot of people's unhappiness these days is so focused forward that they forgot about what happened behind in the back. And there's some things that there's some things that happened in the past you're not going to get over. And I think that really shadows a lot of people's happiness and contentment in the future. I think that's a big part of it, is being not so much cognizant, but actually playing an active role in understanding the story of your life and controlling the story of your life and the narrative of your own existence. I think that's a big key for a lot of people. And you probably see this with like really, third world country, poor people, they understand. They know, hey, I was living in a hut. Now I'm living in a, in a 1-bedroom apartment in New York. Like, I am thankful. I am happy, with this. I am content because I've already not had enough. So I think that's a big part of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, preach.